Jakba and Welcome to the New Dispensation have been the anthems of many Nigerians as they look to leave the country. According to a study conducted in 2018, Nigeria tops the chart of people who plan to move to another country within the next 5 years by 48% out of the 12 countries sampled for the survey. As more Nigerians are willing to live through different routes like education and others, the economic impact on the country cannot be underestimated as it battles a high unemployment rate, inflation, insecurity, among others. Joining us to share their views on these issues and more, we have Dr. Arome Salifu, the Executive Director, Africa Youth Growth Foundation, AYGF, and Dr. Aliu Audu, who is the Director, Nigeria Diaspora Investment Summit Initiative. He will be joining us via Skype on the program this morning. Dr. Aliu, good morning and thanks for having us. Thanks for joining us on the studio this morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
We have seen what has become a very alarming, statistics. These statistics we read, of course, that pitched us at the fifth was sometimes in 2018. But today we live with the realities. Very skilled Nigerians working out of blue-collar jobs, if you like, across our major cities in Nigeria, all heading for greener pastures, especially in countries like the UK, the United States, Canada, and Australia. What have you noticed with this trend, and should we be worried as a country?
Yes, it's actually very cement, and yes, we should be worried because brain drain is not good country. Our intellectual resources into other countries, and that is one of the important resources that will lead to the death of our country. In any country, it is the brain, the intellectuals of the individuals of the country. And now this is happening of the situation we are facing, unemployment rate, insecurity, productivity, and a lot of things happening in this economy. It causes concern for us to worry. No country can develop if the best talents are leaving there going to another country. No country can develop. That is how other countries have developed and became pretty, and that is how China became China. So we need to cop this. We need to. I just came from a summit in Dublin where I went to promote investment in Nigeria. And one of the most questions they've asked me, the Irish investor, security. We need to cop security. Without us coping security, nobody wants to invest in Nigeria. Nigeria has lost a lot in foreign direct investment, and this is in today. Nobody wants to invest in. This is causing loss in productivity, loss in employment, and this is causing the best of brains to move to other country. That is not good for Nigeria. We need to, the government strategize and tackle the situation of insecurity. Let's look at promoting other sectors of the economy. We have agriculture, and we have big companies that are down, that are still rolling mill. We need to look inward and invest in to stop the brain drain. Thank you very much.
All right. So most of the issues that you actually raised, the causes of this migration or this brain drain that we're actually facing, when you look at the solutions to all these problems, they seem to be long-term things. They seem to be long-term things that require a lot of investment, a lot of planning, because when you talk about infrastructure, diversifying the economy, talking about security and all that, is there no quick fix that we can actually have to mitigate this this brain drain hemorrhage that we're actually facing right now?
Is that a question for me?
Yes. I was saying.
I didn't hear what you said.
All right, I was saying that most of the problems that we highlighted, the reason for this brain drain that we're facing right now, most of the issues when you look at them, they have the solutions are for long-term things. When you talk about tackling insecurity, diversifying the economy, and new policies and all that, they seem to be long-term. Isn't there any quick fix that we can actually have? All right, so it seems that we're experiencing some technical difficulties, and we will try to get back to that discussion. But still, Sunday, actually, when you look at it, this Jackba phenomenon, it has really, it has been there for a very long time, but these days it has become so rampant that almost 1 out of every 5 people you meet is planning to move away from this country.
Absolutely. I was talking to a colleague, or rather a friend, whom I used to know from my days in the bank, and he was telling me, "Oh, you remember ABC and XYZ? They have all left. Hey, you know, we woke up one day and in one department we had 5 people quitting their jobs. And you know, the interesting perspective is, these are jobs that other people are looking for.
Exactly.
So you would think that wherever they are placed, that they are operating head and shoulder above the average Nigerians. But even at that, you know, these are they basically just get these jobs, use them to raise the funds required to put out the documentations for this trip, and before you know it,
then they move.
and then they move. You know, so it's a serious cause for concern, and it's something we should be thinking of how to curtail.
Well, I think it's something that we seriously need to look at. So it seems like we have our guests back online. All right. So before we encounter those difficulties, I was asking: is there no quick fix to these problems that we're actually facing right now? The ones that are causing this spate of migration that we're facing. Because if you look at all the problems that we've highlighted, they need long-term solutions. Because tackling insecurity is not something that you can actually have in a day. Economic policies need to take time. They take time before they can be able to take root. So is there any quick fix that we can actually have to stop this current hemorrhage as it is right now? Because it is reaching an alarming rate.
Well, I think the quick fix also would definitely fall in the hands of the government to begin to give incentives to Nigeria to be able to do businesses. The incentives, I'm talking about financial support, logistical support that can, that can encourage people to do business in Nigeria. Give them some sort of funding, because once you encourage, businesses, you support them, then they will be able to, stay and, do. For example, now during the COVID era in the United businesses were going to came up with a palliative that gave businesses a lot of money. So I think that is what the seed bank should come in and do. Ministry of Finance, a special fund should be to assist Nigerians that are looking to do this. And in effect, when this is brought to Nigerians, that would also stimulate the economy. Fix I see right now, it's in the hands of the Ministry of Finance and the central bank to introduce some sort of palliative, some packages for businesses, Nigerian businesses. We have a lot of SMEs in Nigeria. Nigerians are SME businesses. Majority of these are SMEs. So this is the quickest fix. We encourage Nigerians. And we have to relax our laws and make the business environment more friendly. They have problem with interest rate high, and this discourages business. So these are the things the government has to look into. The is in the hands of the government, right? If they want to change this tide, you cannot force people to stay in there. If you try to do that, they'll look for other means. The only way is to encourage them, supporting them, and that is the only way for that we can curb the problem of migration right now.
Dr. Liu, do you think that the government seem to be bothered about this spate of migration at all? And I say that in the light of the comments that seem to come from the mouth of very senior government functionary. We have heard at some point the Minister of Labor and Productivity saying we can't employ all the doctors in Nigeria. Some of them should move into tailoring. I think the Minister of Health at the time, made some of those remarks. Do you think that the body language and the impression we get from these government officials suggests that we understand the dangers that we are in the face of this glaring hemorrhage?
I think careless statement by the government that Nigerians should tailoring. You can't ask somebody that is a doctor to become a tailor employment. First of all, let me tell you that Nigeria is very, very resourceful. We have a huge population market. We have the biggest and the largest market in Africa. Solid minerals, we have agriculture, we have even oil. Now, countries don't have this. Israel, a lot of countries don't have this, and they're doing extremely. So we can do a lot. We invest in the right sectors. The government shouldn't encourage to leave Nigeria because that is our mother. If you go to Dubai today, they are pushing Nigeria. Go anywhere in the world, they are pushing Nigeria. It's a shame on us. We have to work. We have to change the tide so that Nigeria is stable in Nigeria. We have to work because we have the resources. We have agriculture. Countries don't have agriculture. They are growing plants in the air and they are doing well and they are able to feed the population. We don't have to do that. What is our problem? We have to look inward, grow the economy inward. We have to invest in our people. We have Nigerians that are doing the well in all places. Why can't we
Okay, we have now been joined in the studio by Dr. Arome Salifu. I hope I got that pronunciation correctly. I'm tempted to say Salihu, but Salifu, the Executive Director, Africa Youth Growth Foundation, here live with us in the studio. We've been talking with Dr. Aliu, and we have taken time to dissect the issues, the alarming rate at which our youth going abroad, and the attitude of the government towards curtailing this hemorrhage. But it will be interesting to move this conversation slightly forward. We have seen how countries like India, rather than complain about a brain drain, have been able to turn around the story from having a large diaspora, very skillful diaspora, to becoming the channel for the foreign direct investment that they seek, to the extent that they do somewhere in the excess of $50 billion annually. We have over 17 million Nigerian diasporas, and a number of them very skilled and properly placed in economies in Europe, in the Americas, and even in the Australia. Shouldn't we be thinking of what we can do with our diaspora population rather than complain about losing this much number to the diaspora?
Yeah, very well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm sorry I came a little behind schedule because of the rain this morning. To be honest with you, movements of people is the natural phenomenon, and it has been there with us from years, centuries, immemorial. And the reason is because people naturally gravitate towards where they feel safer and their welfare and their economic conditions could be improved or better, guaranteed. And so you cannot take that away from people. And regardless of how patriotic, they ought to be or they should be, they first have to think of security and preservation before anything else. And if you look at what has been happening in this country in the last 10 years, in the last 20 years, it has been rather on the deteriorating trajectory, both in terms of the economy, in terms of the security, and so on. So there is that push factor already established within the system that people naturally would want to live. And if I ask among the three of us here now, if we want to live, I want to believe that it will surprise you that almost all of us want to live. Not because we don't love Nigeria, but because of the fact that you think of the future and the guarantee it has for yourself and your own kids that are coming behind, because you don't think of yourself alone, you think also of your family, and if in an atmosphere of uncertainty, particularly in terms of security first and foremost, and then the economy, like what the dollar is saying against the naira, what the pound is saying against the naira, all of this, put together, naturally allows, encourages, and motivate people to live, to other places, particularly where there are more, economic and security guarantees. Now, looking at the point you made on India turning around, their migration, phenomenon and exploring the positives out of of that. The truth is, where you have good governance, because everything rises and falls on the basis of bad or good governance, and that is one thing we must put in proper perspective. If you have good governance and you have a situation like this, first and foremost, you've got to have option A and option B as a government. Option A is to keep the people in the country, to make sure you provide an enabling environment for them to actually explore the opportunities internally, create jobs, create security, and create all necessary social security and infrastructures for people to be able to aspire and dwell naturally without necessarily having to leave the country. Now, if that option A fails, however it happened, maybe beyond your control as a government, the next is to explore option B. What is the option B? The option B is to have organized migration. Okay. Because it's natural that people will move as a result of what has been happening in the country. So to what extent the government actually think about this process to see that they're able to take advantage of the movement is another conversation altogether. So you've got to look at the fact that as a government, what is our population? Now, if our population is globally competitive and of course puts us in an advantageous position to be able to export our labor, then you've got to think of how you can manage your labor migration more effectively to be able to guarantee more economic advantages inwardly for the country. That has not been happening. Countries all over the world, looking at the fact that they cannot stop their citizens from moving, will turn around and explore the option B, to look at how they can have bilateral and multilateral agreements, labor agreements with countries to be able to have more organized system of migration. Right now, people are living on their own, leaving the citizens to their own, devices, and of course exploring whatever option available for them, thereby exposing them to vulnerability of irregular migration, and therefore making them to be victims of organ harvesting, of slave labor exploitation, sex, and all manner of exploitation happening in the course of people having to live in their own or on their own devices and means. When actually it's supposed to be the government who should think proactively on how best to put portfolios, migration portfolios in place, have multilateral and bilateral agreement like with Germany, like with the United States, like with Canada, that is actually hungry for more people coming into their country, like in the UK, as a result of Brexit, now needing more people to be able to bridge the gap in the labor system, and so many other countries. So first and foremost, you want to ask, How many multilateral and bilateral labor agreements has Nigeria entered into? To what extent has that been so explored to actually benefit first the citizens and then the government through the remittances that should come over time? So all of these, conversations put together and waves of, factors need to be internalized, appreciated by the government in order for us to still see this as a positive advantage, as against the other way. And that is the way people should think when they think of good governance.
Dr. Aliyu, let me bring you back to respond to some of the issues raised by Dr. Arome. He's talked about organized migration. And before we had that glitch in network, we were talking about whether this government even appreciates the potentials and the opportunity. We know that the government will argue on the one hand that we have the office of the Nigerian Commission for the Diaspora, but all we have seen largely from that commission is issuing statements about happenings in other countries rather than us seeing proper blueprint on how we can harness the potentials of the Nigerians in the diaspora. What do you think is the missing link to move from where we are today, where we seem to have people going out of this country from just about every point, to the point where Dr. Arome talked about, where we can begin to talk about labor bilateral agreements to help countries that are in their need, fill sectors in those areas by facilitating this migration?
Okay. First of all, let me correct the notion Nigerian diaspora. I think because I've actually with her going out in some of the programs that I've seen her arrange investment summits around the world, encourage Nigerian diasporans to come to Nigeria and invest. As a matter of in November this last year was the Nigerian Diaspora Investment Summit, which brought in a lot of Nigerians from the world, China, Malaysia, everywhere to invest. And that's her banquet hall villa. This year, having the fourth one. So she has been going around and actually working. But there is much she can do. She's there to encourage diaspora to come to Nigeria. But then we have to look at the office. What are they doing? Other ministries that are in charge of enhancing bilateral agreement, the Ministry of Trade and how I just came from a summit in Ireland, in Dublin, Ireland, we promote made in Nigerian goods and in Nigeria. What is the follow-up at the summit? How are they promoting that? To what? It's not just to go and have the summit and relax, but you have to be able to tie up parts. For example, now we have a lot of lithium. A lot of other countries, Tesla is looking for lithium. Are they encouraging these companies to come to Nigeria? I was previewed to hear that Tesla, I think one of the solid minerals, and said they wanted lithium. All we told them was that they should come and set up a factory. Follow up. Did we send the right people there to follow up and cement the agreements? So this is what we need to do. We need to tie up these agreements. We need the ministries to be more aggressive, to follow up, to promote Nigeria. We are not even advertising Nigeria like other countries are doing. Look at Rwanda, for example. Rwanda is on CNN. If you go to Arsenal, you have Rwanda, Air Rwanda on their shirts. We are not promoting Nigeria. Most of these ministries, trade and investment, solid minerals, and a lot of others, they are very docile. I'm very sorry to say that is the truth. And that is the missing link. We need more aggression, more aggressive driving of Nigeria, because we do have a lot of resources that a lot of countries are looking for. This is how China did it. Before, you see Chinese everywhere. But now, a lot of them have gone back to their country, they have developed their country, and they come into other countries to invest. Talking about China also, we have a lot of solid minerals in Plateau. We have a lot of Chinese people here taking away our solid minerals and taking it abroad. Now, what is the government doing about this? Comes back to the government again. How are they tightening the laws? Why is it that they make it easy for these people, foreigners, to come here and take our goods and go away? We had 110 textile factories. Now we have only 10. The Chinese have brought in textiles and given it to our traders free of charge. Sell and pay later, discouraging Nigerian factories from producing textiles. That has killed over 100 Nigerian textiles. All the clothes you see our children wearing to schools are made in China. Why is this? Why is there dumping? This is what we call dumping. The government is in the positions through the customs, through the immigrations, to put in laws to restrict the bringing in of foreign goods into Nigeria, because once you allow that, you are competing Nigerian industries. That is what is causing this loss of jobs and causing people to leave the country, because our borders are not well protected. You can see what has happened to rice. Just the little incentive that you have given Nigerian farmers, we are producing our rice now. We're selling rice to Nigerians. A lot of Nigerian rice that used to have stones before don't have stones, and that industry is picking up. This is what we need to replicate in other industries. So the missing link is the inability of the various sectors and sections of the government to, tie up agreements and aggressively pursue Nigerian interest abroad.
Thank you very much.
Where the missing link is. We
Thank
need
you
to do
very
that.
much.
It is not enough to issue a blank statement and say, well, Nigerians should go and do tailoring. Why should Nigerians be underemployed? And when they go abroad, they are given the highest jobs. But when they come to Nigeria, you're telling them to go to tailoring. That is very insulting.
Thank you
And
very
I think
much,
the
Dr.
company needs to
Aliu.
wake up. We need to do more.
Thank you very much, Dr. Aliu. That is the much that time would allow us to take this morning. It's a pleasure talking to you today and taking your contribution on what appears to be a very interesting debate. And I can assure you that we will come back to this subject another time. From 30 seconds, I would like to have your view. What should we be doing at this point? Is it to sit back and regret the large numbers? It appears clearly their minds are made up. They've secured their tickets. They are just waiting for the time to do that. What do we do, to have the critical marks of the intellectuals we need to build this economy, whilst also benefiting from the 17 million diasporans?
Yeah, good. So first, as a government, I think everything still has to fall back to government, because that is the reality, and that is why, for the 2023 election, you must have to get it right, because you have the wrong person in position, everybody faces the consequence. Now, if you ask me, the two options, the option A and option B, should be explored. That is, on one side, government should create the enabling environment for people to stay back. Okay, the lecturers, the medical doctors, the nurses, the IT and all of that, they should be incentivized to stay back in the country. That is number one. Number two, as many that want to live should be in an organized system where government has an involvement and deliberate interest in their movement and channeling their movement towards certain specific and strategic economic goals and opportunities. For example, in Germany, I happened to be opportunity to have a study tour in Germany, and we went to some, on migration of course, we went to some strategic German ministries, including their chancellery, which is more or less like our own Asorok. And we met with the top officials, and we met with the top officials of their strategic ministries. The truth is, Germany, for example, are interested in getting people into their country, but on three conditions. One, that you must understand the German language. Two, that you must have skill you are coming with. Three, that you must understand their culture. These are fundamentals. Now, as a Nigerian government, you should be able to create an envelope, a window, where people could actually be empowered with appropriate information on these opportunities, and then pass through, maybe, for example, the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment, to package them properly, and then be able to have some understanding with the German government, one, on the right and safety of these Nigerians, on their freedom to return whenever they want to return, on their freedom to have remittances return back to the country without any hindrance, and then on the fact that they should have a system to bring Germans back into the country, to train Nigerians on some of these skills, to also support our local economy. Now, that is already a win-win situation. For a, you know, yeah.
Thank you very much. Sorry, that's how much we can take at this point. And as Sunday said, this is a very interesting conversation, and we hope to pick it up sometime again. So thank you very much for coming on.